Chapter 1. Pups and Ghosts of the Past. The sun stretched golden fingers across the clearing, bathing the small makeshift playground in warmth. Bonnie sat cross-legged on the grass, watching as a flurry of paws and wagging tails darted around her. Laughter bubbled from her lips. When a particularly enthusiastic pup, Coda, barreled into her lap, hung lolling easy their little menace, she chuckled, ruffling the tawny fur between his ears. Soda barked as if to argue, wriggling to lick her cheek. Around her the other pups wrestled and tumbled, their high-pitched yips echoing through the trees. The air was filled with the scent of pine, earth, and that distinct puppy musk that was oddly comforting. Here among these tiny bundles of chaos life felt lighter, easier. Miss Bonnie, a small voice called out. Turning, she spotted Lyra, smaller than the rest, with big amber eyes. That seemed too serious for someone so young. Trotting over, her dark gray fur gleamed under the sunlight. Ears perked with excitement. Bonnie smiled. "What's up, sweetheart?" Lyra sat down, tail curling neatly around her paws. "Can you tell us a story?" she asked, glancing back at the other pups, who had paused their antics to listen. "A story, huh?" Bonnie wiped her hands on her jeans and considered. "What kind adventure?" "Something about the old PAX. Tell us about your brother." Lyra piped up, eyes bright. "Papa said he was really brave." Bonnie's breath caught the playful atmosphere, tightened around her chest. A smile on her lips trembled but didn't fall. Brave, that was one word for him. Reckless was another. Her gaze drifted toward the horizon, where the trees thickened, and the world seemed far away. Memories sharpened, bittersweet surfaced. The sound of her brother's laugh, the way he'd tassel her hair and call her squirt, always teasing but fiercely protective. And then, the night everything shattered, blood silence, a howl that never faded from her mind. "Bonnie." Lyra's small hand tugged at hers, leave drawing her back, shaking off the dark swirl of thoughts. She forced her voice to be gentle. "Your papa's right. Rowan was brave. He's brave." No, that door was closed. "He was stubborn too, like Coda over there." Coda barked indignantly, turning a round of giggles from the pups. "What happened to him?" another pup asked softly. Bonnie's heart clenched. How did you explain death to ones who barely understood? Lost beyond a misplaced toy. Her gaze swept over their expectant faces. Pure innocent, untouched by the darkness adults scaried. "He went on a journey," she said finally. "One that was very dangerous. He didn't come back." Her voice cracked, but she cleared her throat quickly. "Stay strong, but he did it to keep us safe. To make sure you guys could run around here without worrying about bad things." Silence stretched, broken only by the gentle rustling of leaves overhead. Then Lyra crawled into Bonnie's lap, wrapping tiny arms around her. The hug was small but fierce. "We're safe because of him," Lyra whispered. Bonnie swallowed past the lump forming in her throat. "Yeah, kiddo, you are." For a while she just sat there, holding Lyra, as the other pups huddled close. Warm bodies pressed against her sides, their quiet presence grounding her. Moments like this were why she stayed, why she kept fighting to smile even when it hurt. Eventually Coton, ever one for lingering seriousness, broke the quiet with a gleeful pounce on another pup, reigniting the chaos. Bonnie laughed, shaking her head. "Go on, troublemakers, show me your best hunting moves." The clearing exploded with movement, pups darting and tackling each other. Lyra lingered a moment longer, squeezing her hand before joining the fray. As Bonnie watched them play, a breeze aerated the faintest trace of something familiar, and her smile faded. The wolf stirred uneasily, shaking it off. She focused on the present, the laughter, the sunshine, the simplicity of now. Yet deep down the past whispered, and part of her couldn't help but listen. "Ghosts and stay buried forever." Bonnie tugged at the collar of her leather jacket, resisting the urge to roll her eyes. As she stood in the center of the moon-clawed eating hall, the place was a swirl of tension and urgency. Wolves bustling to ready supplies, warriors sharpening blades with focused precision, and pack council members barking orders that overlapped in a cacophony of voices. Diplomacy, they said, peace talks, they insisted, right, because that always works so well. When the other side was LED by him, her gaze drifted to the large oak table in the middle of the room, where Alpha Garrick loomed like a storm cloud, waiting to strike. His expression was unreadable. Sharp, gray eyes cutting across the pack members like blades. Power clung to him like a second skin, commanding respect or fear. Most chose the latter. Bonnie Garrick's deep voice snapped through the room, quieting the buzz of activity. We need to discuss your role in tomorrow's summit. She crossed her arms, not bothering to hide her reluctance. Let me guess you need me to smile sweetly and play nice with the alpha who slaughtered my brother. A few heads turned her way, eyes wide with passion. Challenging Garrick wasn't something most people dared. Bonnie, however, had never been great at biting her tongue. Garrick's jaw tightened. This isn't about personal vendettas. It's about preventing a war that could destroy both packs. I know what it's about, she shot back, her temper simmering just under the surface. But you're asking me to sit across from Drake Bloodfang and pretend he's not a monster. That's a bit much even for me. A heavy pause stretched between them, thick with unspoken tension. Why Rick sighed, drubbing the bridge of his nose. Your calm presence is what this council needs. Most of our warriors are too hot-headed. And frankly, your reputation as the pup's caretaker gives you a... He waved a hand, every soothing quality. Bonnie barked a humorless laugh. So, I'm the emotional support wolf. Great. Look, he said, voice dropping into something closer to patience. Drake's back is dangerous, but they're also strategic. We need to hear them out. This summit isn't a request, it's happening. And I need you there, because you know how to keep your head when things get heated. And what if I can't? Her voice softened, the weight of the past pressing against her chest. What if I see him? Then all I want to do is rip his throat out. And you'll have to control yourself, Herrick said bluntly. Because if you don't, this goes beyond you and your grief. It becomes a bloodbath for all of us. That landed hard. Bonnie clenched her fists, nails digging into her palms, until the sharpness brought clarity. As much as she hated to admit it, he wasn't wrong. Her pack, her family depended on cooler heads prevailing. Even if that meant swallowing her rage. Doesn't mean I have to like it, fine. She exhaled, dragging a hand through her hair. But if Drake so much as breathes wrong, I'm not responsible for what happens. Jerry G smirked. Just a touch, I'd expect nothing less. Turning on her heel, Bonnie stalked out of the hall, her boots thudding against the wooden floor. Outside, cool air greeted her, carrying the scent of pine and the faintest hint of approaching rain. She paused on the porch, gaze lifting to the horizon, where the blood-fanged territory lay, beyond the distant mountains. Her wolf stirred, restless and uneasy. The idea of facing Drake again, of standing in the same room with the man whose name was synonymous with her grief, made her stomach twist. Yet somewhere deep down, buried beneath anger and resentment, curiosity lingered. Why was the Bloodfang Alpha so eager for peace now? What game was he playing? And more unsettling, why did the mere thought of seeing him again send her heart racing? Shaking her head, she pushed off the railing and started down the path. There was no room for tangled emotions or what-ifs, but tomorrow she'd face her brother's killer. She'd become collected, and if she happened to fantasize about punching him in the face during the meeting, well, no one said she had to be that diplomatic. Bonnie wrapped her hands around the mug, letting the warmth seep into her chilled fingers. The tavern buzzed with the low hum of conversation, the air thick with the scent of spiced cider, roasted meat and the faint smokiness from the fire, crackling in the stone hearth. Lanterns cast soft golden light, making the wooden walls gleam. It was cozy, familiar, comforting. Exactly what she needed. After the council meeting from hell, Mira plopped into the seat across from her, sliding a mug of cider across the table. Drink up, caretaker. You look like you're about to snap someone's neck. Bonnie huffed a laugh. Tempting. If I have to hear one more lecture about diplomacy, I might actually lose it. Not surprising, Mira said. Taking a sip, her dark eyes sparkled with amusement. Garrick's about as subtle as a sledgehammer. Lads, putting it kindly. Bonnie tilted her mug in agreement. Before taking a long drink, the cider was perfectly spiced, sweet with just enough warmth to chase the lingering tension from her muscles. She sighed. He wants me to play nice with him. Mira's smile faded. Bring Bloodfang, yeah. Honey's grip tightened around the mug. Apparently, my calm demeanor makes me the perfect peace emissary. Never mind that I'd rather claw his eyes out. Mira tilted her head. If you did, I'd back you up, just saying. A laugh slipped out. Good to know. They lapsed into a comfortable silence, broken only by the clinking of mugs and the tavern's lively background noise. Bonnie glanced around, familiar faces, easy smiles home. Yet beneath the surface an ease twisted in her gut. It's just, she trailed off, unsure how to put it into words. How do you explain hating someone with every fiber of your being, while knowing you'll have to sit across from them and not show it? You don't have to explain, Mira said, reading her like she always did. Everyone knows what Drake did. Bonnie nodded, jaw tightening. And yet, here I am, being told to negotiate peace with the bastard. Mira leaned forward, resting her elbows on the table. Honey, look, I know you hate him. Hell, most of us do, but oh no, Bonnie groaned. You've got that look. The one that says you're about to say something? Wise and annoying. Mira grinned. Shut up and listen. She paused. I serious now. Not everything is as it seems. Bonnie arched a brow. What's that supposed to mean? It means, Mira said, tapping her mug. Things aren't always black and white. There's a whole lot of gray in between. And sometimes the truth isn't what you think it is. That sounds suspiciously like defending him. I'm not defending anyone, Mira shot back. And so be careful. You might not like what you find if you go in with your mind already made up. Bonnie stared at her, the words sinking in, like stones dropping into still water. Not everything is as it seems. Easy to say, harder to believe. When the memory of her brother's death clawed at her, every time she heard Drake's name. But what if? No, she shook off the thought. No point entertaining it. Drake was a murderer, end of story. Uttered to Bonnie. Myra waved a hand. You went all broody there. I'm fine, Bonnie said, though her voice lacked conviction. Just tired. Ira didn't look convinced. Well, whatever happens at that summit, just keep your cool, okay? No stabbing or punching or, launching yourself across the table to throttle him. Bonnie grinned. You're no fun, and plenty of fun. I just don't want to hail you out of a diplomatic incident. No promises. Bonnie drained the rest of her cider. Warmth spreading through her chest. Keep your cool, right? She could do that probably. Besides, Mira added with a wink. Put her at a risk discovering Drake's a decent guy. Or something that would really mess with your head. Bonnie rolled her eyes. Now that would be a nightmare. Yet, as she walked home later, under a blanket of stars. Not everything is as it seems. And for the first time, Bonnie wondered if hating Drake, Bloodfang, might be more complicated than she wanted to admit. The clearing stretched wide, ringed by towering pines that stood like silent sentinels, their branches swaying gently in the cool morning breeze. Moonlight streamed through breaks in the canopy, casting a silver glow across the stone circle. Where the summit was set to take place, the air was thick with tension, charged with the weight of old grudges, and wary glances exchanged between wolves. From rival packs, Bonnie adjusted her jacket, the leather creaking, as she folded her arms tightly across her chest. Her gaze swept over the gathering crowd. Moon Claw wolves stood on one side, bristling with barely restrained hostility, while the Blood-Fang pack lingered on the other. Equally wary but more controlled, calculated deep breaths Mira whispered beside her, though her voice held more nerves than calm. "You look like you're about to bite someone." "I just might." Bonnie clenched her jaw, her gaze darting toward the path, winding through the trees. Any minute now, and then she felt a subtle shift in the air. Her wolf stirred, pricking with heightened awareness, hairs metaphorically perked. This warmth coiled low in her stomach, a sensation that was as foreign as it was unwelcome. The crowd parted as a group emerged from the tree line, footsteps steady and unhurried. Leading them was Drake Blood-Fang. Bonnie's breath hitched tall, broad, commanding. Every step he took seemed measured, deliberate, as if the earth itself acknowledged his presence. His dark hair was tousled, like he'd run a hand through it moments before arriving, and his sharp jawline bore a neatly trimmed beard that only added to the infuriating perfection of his face. His ice blue eyes scanned the crowd with detached calm, until they found hers. Their gazes locked. Time didn't just slow, it stopped. Her heartbeat thudded in her chest, echoing in her ears. Her wolf surged forward, tail wagging, practically purring at the sight of him. Trader Bonnet thought, disoriented. "What the hell is wrong with you?" But her body had other ideas. Heat flared through her skin, tightening with awareness, every nerve sparking like live wires. A scent earthy, masculine, laced with a hint of pine. Head. Her hard, making her breath catch in her throat. Drake's lips curved into a small, knowing smile. "Arrogant bastard," Bonnie Mira hissed under her breath. "You're staring." "Oh, I'm doing more than that." She snapped her gaze away, forcing herself to focus on literally anything else. Which was hard, considering her wolf was practically doing somersaults. "Nope, not happening." She clenched her fist, nails digging into her palms. Her wolf huffed. "He's ours, shut up." Alpha Garrick stepped forward, his voice breaking the tension. "Blood-Fang pack welcome." His tone was civil, but barely concealed the underlying hostility. "Let's get this over with." Drake nodded once, his gaze still drifting back to Bonnie, agreed. His voice was deep, smooth like dark velvet sliding over her skin. "Stop it." She scolded herself, biting the inside of her cheek. Her wolf whimpered. "Oh," but begging to close the distance between them. Mira leaned closer. "You okay? You look flushed." "It's hot," Bonnie lied. Never mind the cool breeze that said otherwise. The two packs moved to opposite sides of the stone circle. Bonnie found herself positioned directly across from Drake. Of course, and every cell in her body was aware of him. The way he stood, relaxed but coiled like a predator ready to strike. The way his gaze kept returning to her, unapologetic and intense. "You're going to burn holes in me if you keep staring like that," he said, voice pitched just for her. Ronnie shot him a glare. "You wish." His grin widened. Pocky jerk. Alpha Garrett cleared his throat. "We're here to discuss terms of peace. Nothing more." Agreed, Drake said easily, his gaze never wavering. "Oh, it's hard to focus when someone keeps glaring daggers at me." Bonnie stiffened. "Maybe don't kill people's brothers, and you won't have that problem." A ripple of tension passed through the circle. Mira's hand shot out, gripping Bonnie's arm. "Saddle," she whispered. "Really subtle." Drake's smile faded, something flickering. no sparking in his eyes. You think you know everything, don't you? His tone was soft, but carried an edge sharp enough to cut. I know enough, she shot back. He tilted his head. Do you? That was unsettling. Her wolf paws tears flicking as doubt crept in. No, Bonnie told herself, stay angry, anger's safe. But that bond, gods, that bond was pulling, hugging at something deep and primal, wrapping around her like an invisible tether. Focus, Mira hissed. You can hate, flirt later. Bunny blinked. I am not enough. Barrett cut in, shooting her a warning look. Let's get to the terms. The conversation shifted to politics. Territory lines and resource sharing. Bonnie tried to concentrate, really she did. But every time Drake spoke, her gaze drifted. His voice was like gravity pulling her in. Impossible to ignore. And when their eyes met again, because of course they did, he gave her a look that said this isn't over. Her wolf wagged its metaphorical tail. Bonnie scowled, betrayer. Whatever this was, it was going to be complicated. The tension in the air was palpable, thick with the weight of old wounds and unspoken words. The summit had quickly descended into a battleground of politics. Her representatives of both packs, barely holding it together, as they bickered over land disputes and trade deals. Honey barely heard the words anymore. Her mind was too busy spinning in 1,000 directions. She hadn't wanted to be here. She hadn't wanted to see him again. But life had a way of forcing you to confront things you weren't ready for. And now she was stuck, seated across from the man who had once been nothing more than a memory she tried to bury, a man who, whether she liked it or not, was now irrevocably tied to her through a bond she couldn't escape. The moment their eyes locked earlier had sent a shock wave through her body, the pulse of recognition hitting her like a physical blow. Bonnie had managed to bury it under layers of anger and deflection. He's the enemy, she told herself. We're here to stop him, not to. The air shifted again, like the storm before the downpour. Bonnie's gaze darted to where Drake stood, a few feet away from her at the edge of the table. He was speaking with Garrick, his words low and deliberate. But Bonnie couldn't focus on the conversation anymore. Her senses had honed in on him, like a switch had been flipped. Her pulse thudding hard in her chest. And then, as if sensing her, Drake turned. His ice blue eyes met hers across the table. And, for a breathless moment, the world seemed to still. Bonnie. His voice reached her before the words themselves did. Low, commanding, and impossibly smooth. Like warm honey over rough stone. You feel it, don't you? Her breath caught in her throat. The words weren't a question. They were a statement of certainty. And the moment they left his lips, Tawny's world snapped into a new, terrifying reality. Her wolf stirred violently. The bond, the mate bond, flaring into life with brutal intensity. It was as if something inside of her had been waiting for this exact moment, ready to awaken the second their worlds collided. No, her pulse quickened, her skin tingling with an electric charge she couldn't ignore, that started in her chest, spreading outwards, until every inch of her skin was humming. With a primal awareness, she could feel him. The bond snapped into place. It was the most intense thing she'd ever experienced. A pull so strong, it almost knocked the air from her lungs. She could feel the weight of it, the rightness of it deep inside, even as her mind screamed in protest. Her wolf paced restlessly inside her, pale thumping against the walls of her resolve. No, not him. The words were like a prayer, his spit fractured. But not enough to override the undeniable truth that was now anchoring itself inside her. It was her fated mate. Her head spun. Bonnie's hands gripped the edge of the table, knuckles white as she fought to ground herself. But it didn't help. The bond was there, undeniable, and draw swirling between them. With every heartbeat, she could sense his heartbeat too, matching hers in an eerily synchronized rhythm. It's him, it's Drake. The words echoed in her head like a cruel joke. Drake took a slow step forward, as if drawn by some magnetic force. he had no control over. Bonnie stiffened, but the movement felt wrong. Like trying to pull away from something that had already latched on. Something she couldn't escape even if she tried. His scent, rich, earthy, and unmistakably him, seeped into her lungs, thickening the air around them. "Don't," she whispered, a word barely audible as it broke from her throat. Her voice laced with a mix of denial and desperation. She didn't want to face this. She didn't want to feel this, not with him. Not after everything. Drake's gaze softened, his eyes glimmering with something that wasn't quite regret. It wasn't far from it. "It's not what you think." His voice was so low now, only for her, as if the entire world could fall away. "And it would just be the two of them. I didn't kill your brother." "You have to believe me." Bonnie recoiled, the words sending a cold shiver down her spine. What is he saying? Her pulse thundered in her ears, and for a brief second she almost forgot to breathe. "I can't hear this right now. I can't." His voice was relentless, pulling her in like a tide she couldn't fight. "I've never been your enemy, Bonnie," he said, stepping closer, his presence overwhelming. "Not in the way you think I would, never." His gaze softened further, the intensity of his stare overwhelming her defenses. "I know you're angry, but this bond, this thing between us, it's not a mistake. I didn't ask for it, but I can't ignore it any more than you can." Her wolf whimpered inside her. Bonnie's mind was still caught in a web of disbelief. Then, betrayal? No, she couldn't. She wouldn't accept this. Not with him. Not after everything that had happened. But the bond was there, and no matter how hard she fought it, no matter how fiercely she clung to her hatred, the pull between them didn't lessen. It only grew stronger. "You don't get to do this," she finally spat. Her voice cracking with the force of her emotions. "You don't get to waltz in here and tell me that everything's different. You're a murderer, a liar." "I'm sorry," he said, his voice breaking with genuine regret. I swear to you, I didn't kill your brother. And whatever else you think of me, Bunny, this bond, it's real." Her chest tightened and she fought to push him away. Mentally, emotionally, physically. But all she could manage was a choked breath. Her wolf didn't want to leave. Her heart didn't want to leave. But Bunny had already decided. This was a battle she wasn't ready to face. Not yet. With every ounce of strength she stood, backed away and forced the words out, her voice barely above a whisper. I can't do this." And with that she turned, retreating from the one person in the room who could unravel everything she thought she knew. Her wolf howled, but Bonnie pushed it back. The bond was there, but she wasn't ready. Not yet. Bonnie's hands were trembling. By the time she reached the door, she didn't stop. Every muscle in her body screamed for her to leave, to get away from him, away from the suffocating pull of the bond that was starting to tear her apart. From the inside, she didn't hear the voices behind her, didn't care about the confused murmurs from the other pack members. All that mattered was putting distance between herself and Drake Bloodfang, the man whose presence had shaken her to the core in ways she couldn't understand. Fury surged through her, anger at him, at the bond, at the truth she refused to acknowledge. How dare he stand there, acting like he didn't destroy everything I've ever cared about. The rage was like fire burning through her veins, and it made her move faster with purpose, as though running from the searing ache of the mate bond itself. She was halfway across the clearing when she heard the heavy footsteps behind her, deliberate and persistent. No, she didn't need to turn to know. It was Drake. His presence was unmistakable, like a storm rolling in, thick and unavoidable. Her wolf cried the while she belched around herself, wanting to turn back. "Stop," Bonnie told it, her chest tight with the effort of holding it back. Don't you dare agree with him, Bonnie. Wait, Drake called. His voice firm but threaded with something else. Something she couldn't quite place. Something that made her heart stutter. Please, just listen to me. She snapped around, fury flashing in her eyes. Listen after everything you've done. You think I'm going to listen to you? Drake stopped a few feet away, his jaw clenched tight. Every muscle in his body visibly coiled, as though he was preparing himself for something. I'm not the monster you think I am. Monster. Bonnie's breath came faster, sharp and dragged. You killed my brother, Drake. You killed him, and you're standing here, acting like you're some kind of victim. Fate be damned. I don't care what kind of bond you think we have. I don't care about any of it. The words hit him harder than she intended. But she didn't care. She had to let him know. He's not going to walk away unscathed. Not after what he did. He closed the distance between them in 2 long strides. And before she could react, he was right in front of her. Heat of his body enveloped her, making her heart race. Bonnie. He started, but she didn't give him a chance to finish. With a growl of frustration, she slapped him hard. The sound of skin meeting skin echoed in the silence, but it wasn't enough to silence the fury in her chest. She wanted to feel the satisfaction of that slap, to make him understand just how much he had destroyed in her life. Drake didn't move. He didn't flinch, didn't even react like most men would. His eyes, though, those eyes spewed eyes of his held an intensity, a quiet trace that mirrored her own. Stop pretending, Bonnie spat. You killed him. You took my brother away. And now you want me to believe that somehow. It's all a misunderstanding. No, Drake, no. I can't, I won't believe you. He stepped closer, his expression hardening, jaw-tight. You've been lied to. I didn't kill your brother. I swear to you, Bonnie, I don't want to hear it. Her voice cracked with the weight of her emotions. Her chest ached as the mate. Bond screamed at her to listen. I trust him, but there was no room for that. Not now. Not when everything in her had already been torn apart. Drake's eyes softened for a fraction of a second, his gaze flickering with something like regret, before it hardened again. You're letting your anger blind you to the truth. Don't you dare try to tell me what to feel. Bonnie snapped, her hands balling into fists at her sides. You don't get to tell me what's real anymore. You're a monster in my eyes, and no amount of excuses is going to change that. Her wolf whined softly, tugging at the edges of her resolve. Bonnie could feel the bond between them pulling at her, like a weight around her heart. Stop it, please. She fought against it, but the temptation to reach out to him was unbearable. Drake took another step forward, and Bonnie had to force herself to stay grounded, to not collapse into the warmth of his presence. I didn't kill your brother, he repeated, his voice low but insistent. I would never. I don't care, she shouted, her emotions spilling over like a dam breaking. I don't care what you say. I don't care about any of it. You're not the man I thought you were. You're not the man I wanted you to be, and I can't do this, not with you. Not with this bond. Drake froze, his eyes narrowing, as if the words she'd just spoken cut deeper than any wound he'd ever received. The silence between them was thick and heavy, filled with the rawness of their emotions. He stood there unmoving, his jaw tight, as though holding on to the last threads of his control. Bonnie's heart thundered in her chest, but she didn't budge. I'm done. Go back to your pack and leave me out of your lies. Drake opened his mouth to respond, but she didn't give him the chance. Without another word, Bonnie turned on her heel and stormed off, her pulse racing, heart torn between the rage she felt and the agonizing pull of the mate bond that she wouldn't accept. Fate be damned, she thought, fury burning in her chest. This isn't how this ends. Chapter 2. Shadows of Doubt. The moon hung high in the sky, casting silver beams through the open window. But the soft light had little to soothe Bonnie's troubled mind. She thrashed beneath the covers, her body tangled in the sheets, as if trying to escape the turmoil roiling inside her. Every time she closed her eyes, the bond pulsed, sharp, undeniable, like a heavy heartbeat in her chest. It was there, gnawing at her, demanding attention. She couldn't escape it, and every time she tried to push it down, bound to bury it beneath the weight of her rage, the memories of her brother surfaced, filling the space the bond tried to claim. How could this be happening? Bonnie squeezed her eyes shut, her chest tightening. She had lost him, her brother gone stolen. And it was all because of Drake. She had no idea what to believe anymore. What was truth and what was a lie? She rolled onto her back, staring at the ceiling, her fingers curling into the pillow beneath her head. The bond, the damned mate bond, was impossible to ignore. It pulsed with a warmth that was not of her making, filling her with a yearning. That made her sick to her stomach. Right, the name echoed in her head, Drake Bloodfang. Her fist clenched and she shot a frightened eye, unable to stay still any longer. The moonlight glinted off her skin as she paced back and forth across the room, her mind a mass of conflicting emotions. The anger, the pain, the grief, all tangled together, with the undeniable pull she felt toward him. He's the enemy, she reminded herself fiercely. I hate him, he's not who I thought he was. But despite her best efforts, a part of her couldn't let go. Of a strange tenderness in his voice. When he'd spoken to her, the rawness in his eyes. When he'd told her it wasn't him who had killed her brother. She hadn't asked for this bond. She hadn't asked for any of it. Yet the connection was there, always simmering just below the surface. As if her soul recognized something in his. With a frustrated growl, Bonnie grabbed the pillow and shoved it over her face, trying to block out the thoughts racing through her mind. I won't do this. I can't, but even as she said the words, even as she tried to convince herself to keep fighting, yet the truth was undeniable. The pull between them, whatever it was not something she could ignore forever. The air was cool against her skin as Bonnie walked through the dense forest. On her way back to her cabin, the distant sound of wolves' calls ringing in the night, she tried to clear her head, focusing on the rhythm of her footsteps. But the unease gnawing at her gut wouldn't dissipate. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Her instincts screamed at her to be alert, and she listened, every muscle in her body tense, her senses on high alert. She didn't know what it was. Whether it was the bond, the anger, or the darkness clouding her thoughts. But something felt wrong. Then, the sound of footsteps behind her, too heavy to be. The breeze made her pause. Bonnie whipped around, just in time, to see several figures emerging from the shadows. Her pack mates. They were close now to close, and her heart skipped in her chest. Her wolf bristled, preparing for a fight, but she forced herself to stay calm. Bonnie, a voice hissed. She recognized the speaker. Isaac, one of the higher-ranking wolves in the pack. His face was twisted in disgust. Traitor Isaac. Her voice was sharp disbelief lacing her words. What the hell are you talking about? You heard me. He took a step forward, his packmates flanking him. You've been consorting with the enemy. You're working with Bloodfang. The venom in his words was palpable, and it hit Bonnie like a physical blow. Her breath caught in her throat. That's not, but before she could finish her sentence, another packmate lunged forward, his teeth bared, claws extended. Bonnie's wolf surged to the surface. Her instincts taking over, but she was outnumbered. Isaac's face twisted into a snarl. You've betrayed us, Bonnie, and now you'll pay for it. The adrenaline surged through her as she leapt back, dodging a swat aimed at her side. I haven't betrayed anyone. I'm still your. But she didn't get the chance to finish. Another figure lunged at her, his one stronger, faster. The force of the attack knocked her to the ground. The wind knocked out of her lungs as she struggled beneath the weight. Get off, she gasped. Her fists flying, but they were too strong, too many. Her mind raced, but there was nowhere to go, no way out. Just as she felt, a sharp sting of claws against her skin. A booming voice cut through the night. Hit the hell off her irate. Tawny's heart skipped a beat. She didn't know whether to be furious or relieved when she saw him, a massive figure emerging from the trees, fury radiating off him in waves. He didn't hesitate for a second. He was on them before they could react, his body a blur of motion. Isaac was thrown backward, crashing into the ground with a sickening thud. The others scrambled, but Drake was everywhere. Forceful, brutal, and efficient. Bonnie could barely catch her breath as she sat up, eyes wide with a mixture of shock and anger. What the hell are you doing here? I didn't want to get involved, Drake muttered, as he dispatched another one of her pack mates. With ease, his voice was sharp, but beneath it was a threat of something she couldn't place. But they would have killed you. She scrambled to her feet, pushing him back. For breath, ragged. I don't need your help. I don't need you at all. Drake paused, his blue eyes locking with his intense and unwavering. You think I didn't know that? I'm not here for you to thank me. I'll be damned if I let you die over a mistake. His voice dropped, his gaze softening. You're mine, Bonnie. I'm not letting anyone take you from me. The words hit her like a wave. Her pulse raced, her heart pounding painfully in her chest. She wanted to scream at him to push him away, but part of her, the part that had been pulling her toward him ever since they met, wanted to believe him. Bonnie shook her head. Her chest tightening with frustration and confusion. I can't do this, not with you. But Drake didn't move. He simply watched her, his gaze steady, as if waiting for her to come to terms with something. She wasn't ready to face. I'm not going anywhere, he said, his voice firm. Whether you accept it or not, her will forward an agreement. But Bonnie was silent, torn between the rage that had driven her all these years and the unexpected, undeniable bond that was now calling her home. Connie stood in the middle of the clearing, her pulse still pounding from the ambush. Her clothes were torn in places, her knuckles scraped raw, and her ribs ached with every breath. Yet none of that compared to the hollow ache in her chest. Her pack, the people she'd fought for, bled for, had turned on her. The disbelief hung heavy in her chest. Isaac's accusations still echoed in her. Traitor, the word had cut deeper than claws ever could. She glanced to her right, where Drake stood a few feet away. Arms crossed, his expression, mix of frustration and patience. That grated on her nerves. His presence should have infuriated her, hell it did. But it also grounded her in an unsettling way. That was the bond, she reminded herself, just the bond. Not him, not the man who claimed to be innocent. Not the man her wolf kept leaning toward, like he was some kind of safe haven. Stop staring at me like that, she snapped, brushing her hair out of her face. The movement stretched her muscles, drawing a wince. Drake's mouth curved into something. That wasn't quite a smile. That wasn't far off either. I wasn't staring. You were, she shot back, scowling. You've been staring at me since this mess started. He shrugged hard not to. And you look like you're about to pass out, but are too stubborn to admit it. Wow, she drawled, hands planting on her hips. Thanks for the concern. Really warms my heart. His gaze flicked down to her bruised knuckles. You're hurt, not your problem. It is my problem. His voice was steady, calm, but there was steel underneath. Whether you'll like it or not, you're my mate. Her chest tightened. Aided mate, the phrase still made her head spin. We're not talking about that, she said firmly. Ever sure? He didn't sound the least bit convinced. Keep telling yourself that. Bonnie's hands clenched into fists again, anger sparking to life. Her armor, her shield. It was easier to be mad. Easier than dealing with the confusion, clawing at her from all angles. Why had her back attacked her? Isaac's words had sounded rehearsed to certain to off. Nothing about tonight made sense. Something's wrong. She muttered under her breath, half to herself. Glad you're catching up, Drake said dryly. You think your pack turns on their own for fun? Someone's pulling the strings, sweetheart. Don't call me that, she snapped. And I don't need you analyzing my life. He tilted his head, unbothered. Could have fooled me. God, he was insufferable. All irritating and frustratingly attractive. Standing there like he had the world figured out. Like he knew her already. Werewolf was practically purring under his gaze, and Bonnie wanted to throttle both of them. But anger aside, she couldn't deny the truth, worming its way through her defenses. Something was off. Her back's sudden hostility. The way they'd accused her without proof. It didn't add up, and the only lead she had stood right in front of her. Hands crossed like he had. All the time in the world. Fine, she said, exhaling sharply. I'll go with you. His brow lifted. Didn't think you'd cave that fast. And not caving, she growled. She stopped pressing her fingers to her temples. Her head throbbed, a mix of exhaustion and emotional overload. I need answers. That's it, don't read into it. Drake's lips twitched. Oh, trust me, I'm reading plenty into it. Do you ever shut up, he grinned. Now when you get this flustered, it's entertaining. She glared at him. I already regret this. No, you don't, his voice softened. And damn him for how gentle it sounded. You know staying here isn't safe, not right now. Yeah. He was right, and she hated it. Hated that. The safest option was to walk straight into Bloodfang. Territory, the place her pack had labeled dangerous. The home of the man she should hate. But if there were answers to be found, she wasn't going to let pride get in the way. Not with her loyalty, and her sanity dangling on the edge of a knife. This doesn't make us friends, she warned. Wouldn't dream of it, Drake said with a smirk. But you are coming back to my place, so he shrugged. Make of that what you will. Her jaw dropped. You, oh my God. You're impossible, he winked. Bonnie groaned. Fate really has a messed up sense of humor. Still, as they began walking, something in her chest eased just a fraction. Maybe she'd regret this in the morning, maybe not. But for now, she just wanted the truth. Even if it meant dealing with Drake, Bloodfang's maddening charm along the way. Bunny had expected Bloodfang territory to be dark, ominous and dripping with menace. She'd pictured jagged cliffs, snarling wolves lurking in shadows, and maybe even ominous fog for dramatic effect. You know, something fitting for a pack everyone warns you about. What she got instead was warm laughter, cubs stumbling over each other in the grass, squealing with delight, wolves lounging by a massive bonfire, exchanging stories and playful jabs. There was a hum of everyday life that felt, dare she say, normal. What the hell? This wasn't the savage land her pack had painted. Where are the bloodthirsty killers? The terrifying warriors, sharpening their claws on bones? This isn't what I expected, she muttered under her breath. Drake, walking beside her, shot her a sideways glance. Expecting flames and screaming souls. Something like that, she said, half embarrassed. You guys have a reputation. That's on you for believing rumors. His lips curved into a smirk. We're not monsters, Bonnie. Her wolf stretched lazily, soaking in the relaxed atmosphere, as if it belonged here, which only made Bonnie scowl. Don't get comfortable, she warned her inner animal. This isn't home. They passed a group of young warriors practicing shifts. One girl no older than 15 waved cheerily at Drake Alpha. He nodded back, his face softening. Good form, Cassie. Keep your stance tighter next time. The girl beamed, returning to her sparring partner with renewed enthusiasm. Bonnie blinked. That was adorable and unsettling. Why was Drake acting like the nice guy? Where was the brooding, dangerous alpha she'd built up in her head? Her gaze swept over the territory again. Rolling hills, sturdy cabins, the faint scent of pine and fresh earth. lingering in the air. This place doesn't feel like an enemy camp. And that realization gnawed at her, more than she wanted to admit. He rounded a bend in the path, and that's when she heard it, the unmistakable drawl that made her teeth grind. On instinct. Well, look who's joined the dark side. Bonnie froze. No way. Sure enough, leaning casually against a tree was him. Liam Hawthorne, her childhood nemesis. His auburn hair was as messy as ever, a few strands falling into green. Eyes that sparkled with mischief, all lean and infuriatingly handsome. He had that cocky, devil-may-care aura that made people either want to kiss him or punch him. Connie always leaned toward the latter. Liam, she said flatly, still as irritating as I remember. He grinned. Oh, sweetheart, you missed me. Admit it in your dreams. Every night he shot back without missing a beat. Drake's eyed Liam White. Liam threw up his hands. I'm just saying hello. Can't blame me if Bonnie brings out my playful side. Bonnie rolled her eyes. You don't have an unplayful side, he smirked. Not with you around. You always did know how to get under my skin. His gaze raked over her. Not in a sleazy way, but enough to make her bristle. Though I gotta say, didn't expect you to stroll into Bloodfang territory. Hell must be freezing over. I'm here for answers, she snapped. Not to revisit high school banter. Liam clutched his chest like she'd wounded him, still sharp-tongued. I like that. She's not here for your entertainment, Drake cut in, voice edged with warning. Liam raised her brow. Relax, Alpha, just catching up with an old friend. We're not friends, Bonnie said. Right, you can't stand me, Liam drawled. Yet here you are glaring at me like old times. Feels just like home. God help her. Part of her wanted to laugh, not that she would. Giving Liam an inch was like inviting a hurricane. You haven't changed, she said. Neither have you, he replied with a wink, still feisty. Kind of hot, honestly. Bonnie's face heated. Why is he like this? Drake, however, didn't look amused. His jaw tightened. He stepped slightly closer to her, exuding a possessiveness that sent her wolf into a frenzy of smug satisfaction. Oh, this is just great. A mate bonded, now a pissing contest. Enough, Drake said, his tone leaving no room for argument. We've got more important things to focus on. Liam gave a mock salute. Yes, Alpha, he glanced at Bonnie again. You and I were not done. I've got years of teasing to catch up on. She glared. Touch me, and I'll break your nose. That's the Bonnie I know. His grin widened. God, I missed you. Bonnie turned to Drake. Please tell me. I don't have to deal with him the whole time I'm here. Drake's lips twitched like he was holding back a smile. No promises, Liam winked. Welcome to Bloodfang, darling. Try not to fall in love with me. I'd rather swallow glass, she shot back. He laughed deep and rich, echoing through the tree. Bonnie sighed. This is going to be a long stare. The training grounds of Bloodfang Pack stretched before Bonnie, like an open arena. Surrounded by towering pines, and edged with worn-down targets and weapon racks. The ground was packed earth, scuffed from years of sparring. Wolves, in both forms, trained around them. The air thick with the scent of sweat. Pine and adrenaline. Bonnie rolled her shoulders, standing in the center of the ring, facing both Drake and Liam. Her heart pounded, not just from anticipation, but from the confusing cocktail of emotions bubbling inside her. This was supposed to be a simple training session. Work off some steam, clear her head. You're right with Drake, radiating possessive protectiveness on her left, and Liam smirking like he was, born to get under her skin. On her right, attention was thick enough to cut with a blade. You sure you're ready for this, sweetheart? Liam asked, twirling a practiced dagger between his fingers. With casual grace. Wouldn't want to bruise that pretty face of yours. Bonnie shot him a flat look. Worried you'll lose to me? Don't worry, I won't tell anyone, Liam grinned. See, this is why I missed you. Always knew how to keep me on my toes. She's not here to entertain you. Drake cut in, voice sharp. His gaze was locked on Bonnie, intense enough to make her skin prickle. Focus, so I am focused, Liam drawled, just appreciating the company. Moni sighed. Can we just start? I didn't come out here to listen to you two have a pissing contest. Drake's shot heightened, but he gave a nod. Fine, let's go. She barely had time to brace herself before Liam lunged. Quick and agile. Bunny dodged, heart racing as adrenaline surged through her. His movements were fluid, practiced, but so were hers. Years of training kicked and on she countered, hooking her leg around his and sending him sprawling to the ground. Liam blinked up at her from the dirt, grinning. Damn, you've still got that fire. Stay down, she advised, breath quickened but controlled. Ever he rolled to his feet, closing the distance again. This time Drake stepped in. Your turn with me, Drake said to Bonnie, tone low and unreadable. His eyes, those sharp blue ones, that seemed to see her in ways she wasn't ready for. Locked onto hers, Bonnie's pulse skipped focus. She lunged first, aiming for his side, but Drake caught her wrist with frustrating ease, spinning her and pressing her back against his chest. His scent, warm, woodsy and infuriatingly comforting, wrapped around her. Her wolf purred, traitorous and pleased. No, stop it, too slow, he murmured against her ear. Bonnie twisted, slamming her elbow into his ribs. I hate you, he chuckled, barely flinching. No, you don't. The cocky certainty in his voice sent her blood boiling. She broke free, spinning to face him. Her breath came fast, chest rising and falling. As she glared up at him, his gaze dropped to her lips. Damn him, before flicking back to her eyes. The tension stretched taut between them. Heated, electric, dangerous. And Liam, never one to miss an opportunity, called out. If you two are done, can we get back to sparring? Bonnie flushed. We were not, Drake smirked. Jealous, Liam, maybe. Liam shot back, grin wide. I mean, if Bonnie wants to throw me around like that. And game, Bonnie groaned, pressing her hands to her face. Find me enough, Drake growled, stepping forward. Bonnie blocked him with a hand on his chest. Big mistake. His heartbeat thudded under her palm, steady and strong. Her wolf basked in the contact, her body warming despite herself.